Yakaya Yaksatini, the cut you on. Yata Aya Hekosaku, and Aksaya was ḥ'awdlinaa, ja, yidat at after sheet ḥ'awdlinaa. Ye awa tek the hin, ja ach sunny plain hitty a yechat butien. Ach sunny plain Fred Meyer, you do a sock. Ye awa do hitty plain a yechat butien. Dach nacha ach yetki, where atwit the kocho at yekti haswati. Aka away ach to us a gua ye nachwaguti. Just take gwaldecha a atina hasid hayat ha wutien. A joy ach yetki, as the in kachonik. Just kayeg yag. Kanatich weg a hat. Cajun when it's kuchtek a quadagu. Ye awe, what has to katagu? Cajun katachadushu. Ye chwajian, hetwasaka quati. Akawe a yinachwagu, dech a ye awe chwashat. Ye awe chwau. Kuchte chwadagut. A yik de a ya, achtakain. Klashas chwasatin. Wasak showe. Hedeshinatan, Hedeshachwatan with Ḳ'awdlinaa, Ḳ'awdlinaa, where Hasla'a, Yang, Judachnach, Has Aya, Yan Shwutzata, Ka, Has Awe, Ḥ'awdlinaa, Has Ḳ'awuz. Wasaya Atninain, Johan? Ya ach sik, Hu Awe Gwal, Dachadushu to Katago. Yak Eha Wuti, Kashyak Ye Wutien. Utusitin ko a watchman. Ajawe ḥ'awdlinaa. Khatkoa. How? Kasiye. Hetwasa otikoa. Achtu yak iti. Gunchish. Ye away ya uskishkashnik. Ya ye away. Ye jakachdana. Akawe achtu asagu. Kishi. Where you atang tag wishkashnik tin. Yata gudachsa, guksa, gunachsa, chaltakatat adataway, yuchatutla atki at. Aka away gwal kejin, which it atang kairi shahit. Ach tuasaguchwa achi. Shukwaya yikakos, yituagesagut lingit renach yuchayil atki. Akawe achir etangidat yurgachitla at rujin. Okay. No, okay. There was a yik in there. Yeah. And I think you folks probably can't hear when someone else talks. And so Xandor was just saying he heard a yik in there and Tundatani, like in your thoughts, so, or in your mind. Anyone else? What was I talking about? Say it again. Oh yeah, Taka.
Taka.
Yeah, away.
Got bit by a mosquito at Fred Meyer? No, just kidding, Fred Meyer. I don't know.
There are some of the pieces. There's
Okay.
Fred
No.
Meyer.
Cajun Katank Taka.
There's a story in there. Yeah, that was ḥ'awdlinaa.
There was some ḥ'awdlinaa in there. Yeah. Okay, one more in the room.
I heard
Dach, yeah.
I'm not sure if that's a directional.
Okay, let's try a little slower walk through. Take the hin ach sunny plain hitti techwa kuch.
But big name of Sonny Klein. Big.
Clay the hin. What's Clay the hin or Clay the hin?
So water, not first one what? first one?
Ksz'dahin, Dachtdahin, Naskadahin.
Oh, yeah. Len.
Ksz'dahin or Tlechdahin is one time. And it could
Okay.
mean something happened
Oh.
once. But if you're telling us, if you start a story with that, you're like, this one time, right? That's exactly what you're doing. Tlechdahin, one time. Achsani klein hitti dechwakuch. I went to my big uncle's house. Fred Meyer, you do a song. It's just my running. I do it with my kids all the time. It goes way back, and they'd say, "Where are we going?" I say, "Sonny playing Hitti." Who's your Sonny? Fred Meyer, and then they get real mad at me. Right? This is from when they're real little, and so it's just stuck since then. Fred Meyer, you do a song. Go Sonny play. Dachnach goe ach yetki ach in chasvus tien. Dachnach away.
About your children.
Yeah, you went past it.
Dachnach
Oh.
away ach yetki
Children.
ach in chasvus tien.
Your two children.
Two of my children were with
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Gwash Cajun, Gwash Dachadushu, Caucasian, Awe Hastu Katagu.
About 7 and 10 years old.
7 and 5.
7 and 5.
Gwash just dech a tinechat hayati. Yeah, Fred Meyer, Yidach.
Maybe two working. Gin, no Cajun. Gin.
Fill the shopping bag with candy.
Just gwash just dach gwash just dech a tinech hayati. Fred Meyer, Yidach. We maybe only needed a couple things from inside of Fred Meyer's. Joey hasuin kachwani. Kayeki ye kwatiyag. Khatkoa. A yinach kakwagu. Gosh Cajun winnets. Like a kuchte kakwatagu. Gosh kayek ye kwati. 5 minutes. Yeah, maybe 5 minutes.
Okay.
What do you think?
Yeah.
No, never 5 minutes, Fred Meyer.
Takes that long to walk in, doesn't it? Yeah.
Gwashtiyeg ye yekwati yag.
Stopping or waiting.
Yes. Ye gwashtiyeg ye wait gwashtiyeg yekwati yag. You guys will maybe stay here. A yinach kakwagut, gwash Cajun when it's like a kuchte kakwatagut. I'm going to walk through in about 5 minutes. I'll be back. Yechwajin hetwasaka kwati. Yechwajin hetwasaka kwati. Do you guys know Yechwaji? It's a good one to know.
Is that, do you like the position one? Yeah.
It is different. It's a verb root. And it means I think it will be that way.
Oh.
I suspect it to be so. So Yechwajian, I thought, but not anymore. Heshwasaka kwati. I thought it would be okay. Yeowe Cajun when it's that's how it was. 5 minutes in, came back.
Didn't see them.
See them.
I didn't see them. Ḳ'awdlinaa.
They came.
Open. You open the door.
I opened the door. Ḥ'awdlinaa, which is okay. I thought of this little story. Everybody's fine. I'm a good parent. It's fine. Because there's a verb, ḥ'awdlinaa, which means to pretend to be dead. So this little thing isn't working right now. So what I said earlier, I said, ḥ'awdlinaa. I hope it's pretending to be dead. There's a really interesting set of verbs that have to do with playing and pretending, and they have very similar patterns. But basically, if you put sh, classifier, then a verb root, it's to pretend to do that verb. So you could say, ḥ'awdlinaa, they're pretending to eat. ḥ'awdlinaa, no, that doesn't work. ḥ'awdlinaa, they're pretend, well, ḥ'awdlinaa means pretend to be dead. And so here's what happened, just in case any of you are on the edge of your seats. So I just ran into Fred Meyer. It was real fast. They locked the door. So I was like, that'll be fine. It's like ran in, grabbed something. I was only in there for like 5 minutes, grabbed 2 things, came right back out. Because when they were 5 and 7, it's like such an ordeal to get them out of the car and in the car. And so they knew to lock the car and to unlock it when I came back. And so I came back and I had a key to unlock it. Because it's like, what is going on? And I opened the door and they're laying on the floor. And I said, what is going on with you? And my daughter said, Watchman Ḳ'awdlinaa, achawesh ḳ'awdlinaa. So what is Watchman Ḳ'awdlinaa? No, that's close. You'd say Watchman Ḥ'awdlinaa. Watchman Ḳ'awdlinaa. Oh, I saw. So my daughter tells me, I saw, and she's the oldest one in the car. She's 7. I saw a police, so we pretended to be dead.
Good kids.
It's like,
Yeah.
okay. It's like, I had no idea. Anyways, there's a little fun short story. Now it's part of our it's part of our Tlingit oral tradition now. And we'll hope this thing comes. This did this the other day too, so we'll see if it does die. We're in big trouble. We'll figure it out. Okay. So I asked you folks to find 5 sentences that are using directional, locational things from the Ṭa'aqa story, and to try and write 5 sentences that are using direction and locational type of stuff. Anybody find anything? Go one at a time.
So I found I found one in the middle of a bunch of other words, so I just included the entire thing that was on the screen. With deich ach G city way they. So I found G, which is like resting in possession of.
Then we'll go find the line.
I think you're saying that he has 2 boats in his possession.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, so let me put this on the screen so we can look at where it's at. And then, okay, so let me share. So here's talk. Think. Do you folks online see this where it says Ya eesháan?
Not yet.
Okay.
Still says you have started screen sharing.
This is doing this weird thing again. Hold on.
Everything's big.
Okay, we're having a weird. Okay. Oh, this happened before. So on my end, it says screen sharing is paused, which doesn't make any sense. And then the unpause button doesn't do anything. Yeah,
I was in a training yesterday morning and today for work, and the lady training us, it was through Zoom, and she was having a similar issue. It helped when she turned her camera off.
Oh,
I don't know.
really?
But
Huh.
maybe it was a fluke that worked for her.
Lucky. Oh, wait, eesháan. Okay. All right. Well, why don't we take a little break and come back in a few minutes? I'm gonna restart this thing, and I was gonna restart the whole thing, see what happens. So I'll be back in probably 5 minutes. I'm blaming it on the time zone thing. What's that?
Are you sharing just one video or share the whole screen?
I could try and share the whole screen. Does that
There it is.
does that work? Oh, okay. So I can share apparently my whole screen, but not an individual. Whatever. I got a new computer and I'm happy about the new computer, but it's being weird. Because the other thing it does is when I share, like if I have multiple PDFs open and I share something, it'll like throw some random one on the top. It's very weird. Okay. Anyways, here we are. So the one you found was, I had two boats. Is that what it was?
Yeah. Away when Dick, G, when, yeah.
Okay. And so there is one verb, which is sati. This verb is to move a complex object. There is a similar looking verb to like be a member of a group, but that's a different verb. So he says de, which is to, ji. So we do have my possession, and then this, which is to be resting or residing or located at, and then sati, we ya tenk. And if you're wondering how to pluralize big things, that is how you do it. Ya plane is a big boat. Ya tenk is big boats. Okay. Anyone else?
I think I did it wrong because I didn't match directional and actually verbs. But I have I'm not sure if this is correct. Please don't. I know I killed this cannibal. Iskuke aya Ḳ'awdlinaa ya ḥ'awdlinaa. do you know I killed this horsefly?
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, if you were like in a tent or something, there's a horsefly. Someone else finally got it, I guess.
Oh, this.
I took it just from kashóokʼ. I lost this document. I forgot where it was. Yeah, it's the same.
What's the cool, I guess, for a job? Yeah, so there's no direction locational things. You do have two verbs in here, and what we can learn from this sentence is how to tie them together. So what's the cool is the verb ḵ'awdlinaa. So this is what we call a subordinative form. And so if you were to just say ḵ'awdlinaa, if you say I killed it, this would be two A's, ḵ'wa, and this would be a single high one, ḵ'awdlinaa. I killed it. That's how you'd say it. Something like keen ḵ'awdlinaa, killed the fly. But once you
I think you're on the room mics because it's kind of hard to hear online.
Oh, thank you. Yes, very. It's hard to switch back and forth. I keep forgetting, but yes, gonna cheat. Okay, so this is what we call like a subordinate clause in Lingi. And so what we end up with, like the way I would translate this ḵ'awdlinaa on its own would be if, or no, I would say that / when I killed it. Okay, so now it's tying it to another thing. This is the straightforward way to tie two verbs together. So for example, we know how this works. Like, I'll show you folks some of the mechanics here, and then I'll show you the shortcut. So if you want to be doing stuff like this, which I think is fun, to be able to tie two things together, which is important, right? Like this is how we start learning how to talk, because we start learning how to tie together a couple of concepts. Okay, so you can all see that, right? This is crazy. Okay, so here we have seen this before. It's usually like this. So here's yak-a, and here's eesháan, right? So what does yak-a translate to? It's good, right? And what does eesháan translate to?
I see you.
I see you,
saw
or
you.
I saw you, either one. But if I went like this, kashóokʼ, what does that translate to?
I didn't
Didn't see you.
I didn't see you, or I don't see you. So if the shortcut here to tie these things together is you're usually going to take the negative perfective. There's a whole bunch of things with Lingi once we start getting into verbs. Don't look for the logical threat. Just instead say, okay, that's the pattern. That's the pattern. I don't need to. Your English brain is going to want to say, why? Tell me why. And you're going to have to say, you have to be just like the parent who's like, because I said so, right? That's the only answer. So I'm going to grab this and I'm going to add a relational suffix, exact same rules as the relational suffix. Oops, that's got to go high, right? It is good to have seen you, right? This is how this stuff works. So the same thing. So for example, if for whatever reason, I said, Fred Meyer, you good. I saw you yesterday coming out of Fred Meyer's. If you said, no, you didn't see me. I wasn't there. I know I saw you, right? I don't know, this is a weird argument, but whatever. So maybe you have a doppelganger, is that what they call it? But just tying any two verbs together, this is how you can do it. And this is where you get things like at and this is very handy stuff to be able to talk. This is I hope so. And then you have two things. Oops, so I guess I would flip this. This would be you recovered. And then you'd have klesh ewuner. You didn't recover. So you'd say at achdashi ewunehi. I hope you get better. Right? Like there's so much stuff we can do. And for the shortcut for this, you can go to the verb database, look up any verb, find the negative perfective.
Is the high tone right?
Yes, it's opposite of whatever's before.
So that's why it's ḳ'awdlinaa, and then ḳ'awdlinaa.
So that thing that relates them
What's that?
is the high tone I the thing that relates them.
It does tie them together. And so same thing, like so that's why you have ḳ'awdlinaa, ḵ'awdlinaa. I know I killed it, right? And so there's a whole bunch of things like this is saying we could do a whole bunch of examples. So I could say hot, good. Whoops. And what does that say?
You were in the area.
Not I arrived.
You arrived.
Not
You arrived.
you arrived. Pesh, hot, ye good. Whoops. You didn't
You
arrive.
didn't.
Right.
Y'all didn't. Is that you or is that y'all?
That's a single you. There would have to be a second Y for it to be y'all. Okay, one second. Let me do one more thing. So then I could say yak a. And I could just do a copy, paste. It switches to a D, and it goes high tone. Yak a hot ye good. That's why you say it that way. Yak a hot ye ati. Like this unlocks a whole bunch of stuff. And it's complicated if you try and look for why. Don't look for why, just look for patterns.
Would the E stay in my example sentence using the same verb?
Yes, so even asking yisakuge, and then any of these verbs, yisakuge, iwunechi, do you know that you've recovered? Which is a weird question to ask. Yisakuge iwsatini. Again, this is sounding a lot like a stalker conversation. Do you know that I saw you? It's very weird. Right? Yisukuge iwu atchayi. Oh wait, no. Yisukuge itutat atchayi ḳ'awdlinaa. Do you know I ate your breakfast? Right? You could whatever, it doesn't matter what you could just say these things. Okay.
I have two questions.
Okay.
So the goo, the GOO, that same as the good.
Yes.
That the good is that
Good, good, goody.
the position? No. Like where?
No, this is goot for walking. Adechwa goot. I went over there. Hot ia gut. So what you're seeing, and so as we learn more and more Tlingit verb parts, we are going to have to learn what happens when this is a verb, right? And we haven't even gotten to the verb yet. So we're kind of, it's really interesting, I think, to learn Tlingit this way, because we kind of do, at this stage, we're trying to get everything except the verb. And this is the last thing. I think one of the last things. And then we get into verb country.
Then the other question is, when it is negative like that, connect, does it always drag out and low tone the things?
Okay. So for this, we're gonna, it's a great question. It's a great observation. So let me Hold on. What am I doing? Let me answer that. So in ḥ'awdlinaa, this book that we're kind of just randomly going through, we've read up through chapter 6 or 7, I think. There's a chapter way up here, chapter 18, which is called verb modes. Now we're looking into the future. So if you go into verb modes, what this will show you, like this chapter talks about like, what is a mode? Here's a bunch of verbs. We gotta fix a couple of things. Okay. These are the verbs that we're going to use kind of as examples as we sort of move these verbs into different modes. And then as we go in, it's going to show you what this thing is called. And this is probably going to change someday. I think it's going to change to get a little bit less linguistics oriented, but we'll get there. So we're going to jump down to perfective for a second. So when we go down to perfective, so here's the perfective. This is a little shortcut to show you what kinds of things need to be there. If there's an object, it'll be there. This perfective marker has to be there. And if there's an object and a subject, it'll be right in between them. If there's any thematic stuff, it'll be in between the thematic and the subject. The classifier will be plus I, and then you're going to get the root marker. So if the classifier is plus I, it has to be one of these options. It has to be ya, di, si, zi, hle, gle, she, or je. Non-negotiable. But once you know what the classifier is, like if we say this is an S classifier, it's going to be si. This is a 0 classifier. It's going to be ya every time. Every time. It's completely predictable. The other thing that's predictable is the stem. But there's kind of some rules to it. The rules are, we have to know the stem variation. And the stem variation is marked in the theme. We haven't really talked about this too much. But because someone asked, we will. So you can have an open stem. Like kha. That means there's no consonant at the end. It's open. You can have a fading stem, like ta, for sleeping. That means there's going to be a little H in the theme. If you don't see that H, then don't even worry about it. The only thing that letter H affects is in repetitive forms, it will stay low. But it doesn't affect the perfective. The other question is it closed? And if it's closed, you have two types of stems. Regular and ones that don't go low. And the ones that don't go low are marked high in the theme. And I'll show you an example after this. So they're ejective or glottalized. If you really need to know, ejective means it ends with an apostrophe. It can't go low because it's too hard to get to that ejective ending. Glottalized means there's no low version, and it probably is a rule that carries over from tanta tlingit. But all you need to remember is if you see a high tone in the theme, it doesn't go low. So hold on one second. So the last part, for a perfective, you have the conjugation type. So we've talked about this, 0, na, ga, and qa. When we're dealing with the perfective, there's 0 conjugation and everything else. All open verb stems that are 0. In the perfective, they must be long and high. Ḳ'awdlinaa, it's that way every time. All na, ga, and qa will be long and low. Ḳ'awdlinaa, ḳ'awdlinaa, ḳ'awdlinaa. For closed, all the 0s are short and high. kashóokʼ. Everything else is long and low. Adéxwagud. Unless there's no low version. shot, because that shot never goes low. Okay.
Is the apostrophe at the end of that objective, is that like a pinch or is that like
It is a pinch. We just call it, it's ejective is another term for it. So the question was, is the apostrophe mark an impinged consonant? We call them pinched or ejectives.
another thing? What is the
The theme is, let me show you a thing. Hold on. So we're going to go to the other, we'll go to this dictionary. Let me just, I'm still sharing my whole screen for you folks online, right? Okay. So we'll go into this one. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. So we'll go down. So again, this dictionary is, it says tlingit, but the real thing is all the tlingit that's not a verb. And then tlingit da duni at all the verbs. So if you go into the tlingit verbs, oops, seated on your butthole, so be it. This is a theme, and this is, so there's a tıkha just built right into this verb. But this is what we say when theme. So what kind of stem variation is that?
Long and low.
the constant one?
It's
Open.
Open.
just open,
Yeah,
right?
open.
Let's just go find another one.
Yeah, this-
Oh, this one has a little X there. What's that mean?
is that like an H?
The little X means never changes.
Oh,
Z every time.
always.
Well, that one is. That one will always be long and high. What kind is that?
Closed.
Closed, right? So again, open, fading, closed, glottal, ejected. Those are our 5. We've never done this before, so it's okay if you don't know. We'll just go like, we'll go to, see that one? Closed, right?
Close the one with the consonants to low.
Constant, no, it doesn't matter low. Well, I guess you could say that, sure. Yes, it ends with a consonant.
It doesn't have to start with one.
So this ends with a consonant and it's na. That means it should be long and low in the perfective. If I go down and look at the perfective, aushehun. Predictable, 100% predictable. Closed, right? Invariable is what we call that. Open. Oh, so we could just go through and look at that, right? Here's one. This one is ejective. So there is no low version. So we should expect it to be, it should be long and low in the perfective because it's na. But if we look, it's going to be long and high. Just up here. Oh.
Ejective is high.
Wait a minute. Okay, that's a bad example. I gotta go look at that one again. Yes, ejective means it doesn't go low. Okay. So going back to our, whoops, I gotta do it this way. I don't know how to drive. Okay. So those are perfectives. And then in this chapter, it shows you it does show you what all of the prefix combinations could be.
We're still seeing the dictionary.
What is going on? Oh, is it working now? What is it doing? Oh, it's paused. Okay. Oh, silly. How about now?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So this also shows you all of the possible prefix combinations. 0 classifier, S classifier, L classifier, SH. I did it, we did it, you did it, y'all did it. They did it, they all did, or they did it to them. Somebody did it or it happened. So you can learn how to sort of look these up while you're memorizing them or you're internalizing the patterns. Ḳ'awdlinaa, ḵ'awdlinaa, ḵ'awdlinaah, kashóokʼ. And then you can say watuwaha, watusaku, watutlatin, watushiguk. Oh, fading. The little h means fading. That means for repetitive forms, which means repetitive, imperfective, and habitual, it stays low. But don't worry about, I wouldn't worry about it too much right now. Let's do it. We're doing a little, we're taking big steps today, but let's not try and take too many steps. It's something you'll learn in the future. Okay. But after this is the negative perfective. So the negative perfective, everything that's not a 0. Okay. Opens, the open ones are different because if they're 0, they want to be short and high. Everything else wants to be long and low, long and low, long and low, long and low. There is no low version, so those will be long and high. So that's why you get a lot of, when you do these, tie these two verbs together, you end up with low, high, a lot. Okay, that's kind of a lot. Yay, who else has a sentence you found? What? Why are we here? What are we doing? Who am I? Oh, wait, that's for the talk story. There it is. How would you say I know I killed a deer? Ḳ'awdlinaa. Oh, okay. Let's see. Let's say Clayton, got a question.
I have another sentence.
Oh, okay. Which one?
Yahweh Gitwin. So I guess I'm wondering, is that actually through Sayanach?
Yes, through my name.
Through my name.
So Geet Wayne summoned me through my name. Yeah. Which is really, it's like a metaphorical thing, right? Because he was saying Geet Wayne was the one who explained to him what his name meant. It's part of a larger conversation, I think. Yeah, okay. I don't know, generally see what's going on. Yeah. You okay?
I have one.
Okay.
Dak Kashóokʼ, sorry, my handwriting. Kashóokʼ, inland between the mountains.
Ooh.
Yasha.
This one here? Yeah. Dak. Yeah, shak. Ḳ'awdlinaa ausatini qa. So ḳ'awdlinaa. So this one is really interesting because you can have okay, let's go find these. There's these two different things here that are same but different, I guess I would say. So here under the the non-verbs, We're going to go look for a long A. So there's a low tone one, which doesn't need to belong to anything. Ḳ'awdlinaa. That's a canyon or ravine or a gorge. Ḳ'awdlinaa. That is related to the high tone version, which is, I guess it's down below. Ḳ'awdlinaa, in between two things. Ḳ'awdlinaa is a Tlingit name, means between the trees. And so in this case, when you say ċ'awdlinaa, it's talking about this saddle between the mountain peaks, usually. And that's when you sort of look at the context of this whole story, there's a number of there's verbs that talk about coming down from the mountain, and then there's some different references. But like if you put it all together, you say, oh, he went up into this spot in between, like he went up on the mountain. That's where these guys, his brothers, were hunting before him. That's where he went up. That is where he saw this thing. And see, so we see it here, like, but in this case, these are two verbs tied together, but this is more like I guess it's like a negative imperfective. So you don't see wusati, but so it doesn't always have to be a negative perfective, but I think that's a good starting point because you can usually go look those up. So he knew it was the cannibal. Okay. But if you look through here, like we see them all over the place. Going towards being next to. Anak, to leave it behind. Khande, to go, same thing, to go next to. Any others?
Found one. Ayanasgach ayaduhunchu hasgaya kunashin.
Okay. So we have a suffix here, which is qa, which usually means to go after something. And so this is quite often, I think the most common way to hear this is to like, I'm going to go get something like from the store, right? I'm going to go to my big uncle's house and get some pilot bread. Let's go get some coffee. Like, let's go for coffee, right? So usually it means going after something. There are some verbs, especially ones where you're searching for something, it'll attach directly to nouns. And I don't think we've talked about it. We'll talk about it after break. We'll take a full break. I'm going to restart my computer and see if it solves any of these little interesting issues that are going on. But there's a couple of really interesting things I think that are going on here. Ya nasqah means he's going along crying loudly. It's a really interesting verb. Because when we talk about qah, like crying, there's different ways that Tlingit talks about that. You could be quietly crying, you could be loudly crying, you'd be crying for something, and you could be crying out in like pain or something like that. And those are all slightly different verbs. So this would be, you could say, they were looking for it. And so he's searching, he's going along crying, searching for his older brothers. Okay. Sheesh. Any others?
You're looking for one in the story still. So I also have ek, dag, pak, af. En ek, dag, en zoom is from the ocean.
Yes. So ḥ'ka is usually what ḥ'ka tlingit is coastal tlingit. Dakka tlingit is inland tlingit. Huh? Yeah. ḥ'ka dak. Well, it's from the salt water. So ḥ'ka is on the salt water, literally. And so ḥ'ka dak would be from the salt water. It swims up to our mouth, which is a metaphor for saying it swims inland so we can eat it. Or you can also, we eat it because it swims inland. Okay. And did I hear, was there one more? Out on
Adach ausata weyadak.
okay. So there's one verb in here, and it's interesting because there's like two different directionals, right? Which shows you some, I think, some really neat things. So usually when this is what we call a carrying verb. So a carrying verb is when you're moving something. And then tlingit pays attention to two really important things. One is what type of thing is it, because it tells you how to carry it. The verb will tell you how to carry it. Two, how is it being moved? And so in this case, again, looking into the future, dach. If you have dach or day or nach as the suffix before the motion verb, that's going to be a na conjugation motion verb. That's why this is long and look. Because if you'd say put it down, you'd say yan ausata to go high. And so this one means to carry something that's dead or unconscious. Adach ausata weyadak. When you have motion verbs that start with adach or ah, it usually means to pick it up. So he picked up this young man, then, and this is interesting, right? Because we already know he picked him up. So we don't have to repeat the verb. Then into a bag. Ḳ'awdlinaa du ani de, du hiti ḳ'awdlinaa. So we'll do this one last one, then we'll take a little break here. Ḳ'awdlinaa, then he packed him on his back in this sack. Du ani de, to his village. Du hiti, this is the cannibal. So the cannibal's land. To the cannibal's house. Yeah. So this on its own, the place where his house was standing, was situated, was positioned. But then there's a whole bunch of these verbs where we have, especially if you look at place names, and you have ye at the end. That means you can go yede, yedach, yenach. And what you'll learn is this isn't always a place name. Like you can use this construction, which is going to be or ut, verb, yeah. The place where that verb happened, or it's going to happen. What's that? Somebody say something? Okay.
That was my husband talking to me, I think.
Oh, okay. You okay? Okay. That's enough for now. Let's take a break. I won't close the Zoom meeting, but I'm gonna exit the Zoom meeting and I'll come back. So there'll be 2 recordings for tonight, just so y'all know. So I gotta make someone will be the host.